Okay, we'll begin. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our September 1st reopening update. I'm delighted that you've made the time to join this presentation. With regard to the structure of this afternoon, or this evening, I should say, what we're going to do is talk about some different topics that impact the reopening. So with regard to the order, there's no predefined order that we'll discuss the reopening, but there are some really important topics nonetheless. So with regard to, first off, we'll start with transportation. That's a really important component of the reopening. So I will not be speaking about the phased reopening. For those who are interested in learning more about the phased reopening and the rationale and logic behind the phased reopening, I would invite you to our website to view our most recent presentation from last week, and that will certainly provide you some detailed information about the reopening and the phase-in and the rationale and logic behind the reopening schedule. So this evening, I'll start with transportation. Total Transportation is our bus provider, and we had a wonderful meeting with them earlier this week. They have a very stringent cleaning and disinfection protocol. They have a great system for having students sit on the bus in as socially distant a way as possible. They'll be putting X's down using tape on the seats where students may sit. So the students will find an X that was made with tape on the seat, and that's where they can sit. We'll load from the rear of the bus forward. Students who arrive at the bus stop without a mask will be provided a mask. Students who refuse to wear a mask will not be permitted to ride the bus. So I do want to be clear in that regard. From an additional measure for transportation, I just want to share anyone whose children have been on the bus at the start of the school year knows that there are hiccups that happen at the start of any school year. This is the start of my 19th school year, and I don't quite know the year that we haven't had certain concerns with the start of the bus. The bus is late, the bus is running behind, the bus misses a bus stop. It will take some time for our transportation provider to get to know all of our students, their stops, where they get on, where they disembark. That takes time. That's customary in every year. And in speaking to the bus company, they certainly understand that this will occur. They will address it. They will work with us. They are retaining a good number of the former drivers for Bauman Bus Company, which is encouraging to hear. They're not retaining all of the drivers. They weren't able to do that. So we are comforted to know that many of the drivers will be back. So that was good news. With regard finally to the final point on the bus, the buses that will show up and to your home will have Total Transportation written on the side of the buses. So sometimes there's a little uncertainty. We've grown so accustomed to seeing Bauman Bus on the side of our buses. They will not read Bauman Bus anymore. Although Total Transportation has taken over the lot on Front Street, they have taken over many of the buses that Bauman had previously owned. It will not say Bauman Bus on the side. It will say Total Transportation on the side. If you have questions regarding transportation, you would still reach out to Ms. Sauber in the Registration Transportation Department. Patty Sauber is available throughout the week. Her extension and email address are available on our website. I would encourage you to access that if you have any questions. Information on the routes and also information on student schedules will be posted to our website later this week, to our student portal later this week. They're not going to be available today. They won't be available tomorrow. The reality is we're still getting changes on remote learning schedule to hybrid schedule. There are concerns. There are doctor's notes that are coming in that are requesting students get switches. So with each switch, it just complicates the entire placement process that we have. So we anticipate having placement information later this week. Another piece is the health screening. We are using an app called Easy Screen. So it's an app downloadable in the App Store for Apple, and I believe a web application would have to be used, or the web platform of the app would have to be used for Android devices. We will send more information out. The expectation is that you're completing the screening questionnaire prior to putting your child on the bus. I had a conversation with a parent today. There is an element of good faith here, that if you're putting your child on the bus, you have taken part in the screening and your child has passed the screening to come to school that day. And there's an expectation on my part that parents will be respectful of that and will honor that. Children will be screened also on arrival to school. And my anticipation is that the data from home will match the data that we're seeing in school, and we'll certainly address that if that's not the case. So I am going to let you know that the screening will be coming out. You'll have information on that prior to the first in-person day. Your children do not need to complete the screener on their remote day. Fully remote students do not need to complete the screener. They're home, they're not coming to school, they're theoretically not around other children or teachers, so completing the screener is not necessary for students who are home on a given day. One of the questions is, can my child stay home if they're ill? Can they go into the remote learning piece? Yes, it'll look different than what their in-person day would be, but yes, they can access the lessons remotely. With regard to attendance, this dovetails well with the remote learning model with a component within the hybrid model or even the fully remote model. Attendance is expected to be taken for students, whether they're in school or out of school physically. We will have synchronous sessions throughout the course of the day, whether the child is in their fully remote program or whether the child is on the remote day of the hybrid learning program. So I just want to explain that because sometimes these terms are becoming very interchangeable and they're being used incorrectly. And I'm seeing misinformation circulated already. I'm seeing inaccurate information being shared with me on different social media platforms. So I do want to clarify that. So with regard to, there are two models that the district has put out at this point that the district is offering. There is a fully remote model. That's children staying home, they're still enrolled in the school district, and they're having their learning done at home full-time. That's different from homeschooled students. Homeschool students have unenrolled themselves from the school district, or their parent or guardian has unenrolled them from the school district. They are not logging in on the remote learning days or on the fully remote learning platform. Students are getting an individualized home instruction program, and the learning is taking place from an outside entity, not the district. Generally, it's a parent who provides the home instruction. The fully remote model is different from that. You're still a student in the district. You still may participate in co-curricular athletics or clubs or any other offerings from the district. You'll get the resources from the school district. Chromebooks can be loaned out from the school district. So that's the fully remote model. And the fully remote model, K-5, there is a dedicated remote learning teacher at each grade level and within each school. So students are in a class. It's a fully remote class. There will not be an in-person component to the fully remote model. There will not be an in-person orientation for students who are on the fully remote model. I want to clarify that. Students will have live synchronous instruction. We'll talk about a K-5 and then we'll get to the secondary levels, 7, 12 essentially. So K-5, K-6 to a large extent, the students will have live synchronous instruction during the course of the day. The obvious pieces are their morning meeting, just getting themselves calibrated with the learning objectives for the day, getting the classroom community building, moving and progressing, getting the routines and expectations of the class established and reinforced. And certainly English language arts, mathematics, those would all be live synchronous. Those are scheduled times. Students who are on a fully remote model who are not making it onto those live sessions will be marked absent. Attendance is a legal document. The expectation is that students are on at the time that is determined by their teacher. So I can come back to that point if needed, but I believe that that is clear. There's an expectation. They're learning from home, but the expectation is that there's a certain time that the students are going to be on receiving live instruction. Other components of the day will be asynchronous. So now that's the fully remote model. There's the hybrid model. And the hybrid model has an in-person component and a remote learning component. This is that A day, B day grouping that your child is part of. A through L for A day, M through Z for the B day. Now, with that, on a child's in-person day in the hybrid model, school will look very similar to what school has looked like in the past. Obvious differences: social distancing, the masks, the mask breaks, the health screenings, the water fountains are going to be closed, bottle filling stations will be available. So the idea of a child being able to go to a water fountain is not something that we are permitting. In fact, the Department of Health from the state of New York has advised that school districts shut down their water fountains. Bottle filler stations are acceptable, so that may go into your planning for lunches and snacks and so on. The in-person day will look very similar. Again, social distancing and many of the details that we continue to resolve are for the in-person component of the day. The remote learning component, K-5, there will be live synchronous instruction through a morning meeting, ELA, and math. We're working on the staffing to deliver that instruction. Part of it will be the classroom teacher, part of it will be other specialists that we have on staff who will deliver the instruction. So more information on that will come. However, there are live synchronous expectations in math, ELA, and a morning meeting for children who are on the remote day of the hybrid model. And I'll share more about that. This is not a screen share. This is a teacher coming onto the screen, delivering instruction and directly interacting and engaging with our students at the elementary level. At the secondary level, as we progress to the middle school and the high school, and that's what I refer to by secondary level, the in-person component, again, will be very, very similar to what the students have grown accustomed to throughout the years at the middle school and the high school, with some obvious differences. Again, lockers are going to be closed off for now. We are not permitting students to use lockers at this time. Phys ed lockers and locker rooms, we're not going to permit students to use the phys ed locker rooms. We'll expect students on their PE days to come in with sneakers, but there will not be changing, and the activities will be conducive to not changing in a locker room. And there are some other obvious differences. At the high school, we're looking at stairwells and directional arrows in the hallways so that we can help with the flow of traffic within the hallways. The remote component, whether you're fully remote or whether you're on the remote day of the hybrid plan, will consist of screen sharing. Students will follow their academic schedule, and for a portion of the period, they will screen share into the classroom. There's a certain level of independence with middle school and high school students that creates screen sharing as a viable option. More information will be shared through your school principals and through the teachers. I wanted to share an overview of how that would look because I have received some questions with regard to screen sharing versus an asynchronous assignment. There are lessons that are not conducive to screen sharing. I will be the first person to tell you that there are not lessons that are conducive to screen sharing. For example, if I'm giving a test to my students, as a former math teacher, I would give tests to my students every 2 weeks or so, every 7 to 10 days, school days. That's not conducive to a screen share. So So there wouldn't be a screen share expectations. As a former math teacher, I like to take my students outside to measure angles of elevation of the sun, to do different trigonometric formulas outside. That's not conducive to a screen share. There will be another assignment that's posted to the classroom for students to engage in who are not in class, but going outside for a lesson is not necessarily conducive to a screen share. So there are, and every model is imperfect, there are limitations to a screen share. Giving an assessment is one of those examples. Taking the students outside. The internet goes down. We have a utility emergency here. That's not out of the realm of possibility. There's a high demand on the infrastructure, not just here, but in every school district. It's possible that the internet goes down. And on that day, a screen share is not going to happen. So I do want to be very transparent and very upfront and candid with our school community. The idea, well, Dr. Hatter, you said that we would screen share every day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's the model that we're taking. However, there are going to be times where a screen share is not necessarily going to happen. And I share the examples with you. So I just want to be very clear and transparent. The students are on the remote day of the hybrid model, they'll get to come in and have that very same experience the following day. The students who are fully remote would have other opportunities. So I just wanted to share that and make sure that that was clear. With regard to arrival and dismissal, I understand that there were some questions about arrival time and dismissal and staggered arrival times. Arrival times are not going to change at this point. We were able to structure our entrances in a way that can limit congestion at any one given entrance. So arrival times will remain as they are, unchanged. We are looking at the dismissal times, no change for the bus dismissal, students riding the bus, no change there, but we're looking at a way to maneuver the vehicles around our campus at pickup time and looking at traffic patterns. So more information will come on that. That information will come next week. With regard to the scheduling, about our phased-in approach, I have received some questions, not many, just asking, okay, so we phased in the reopening. Are we opening? Yes, the answer is yes, we are. We're opening. We're looking forward to welcoming staff back tomorrow. We begin our professional development days tomorrow. The one concern that I am having are the numbers of COVID cases that continue to creep up in the Yorktown community. So it's something that's very public on the town website. It's public on the county website. So the number of active cases is beginning to creep up, and that's concerning to me. So that's something that I'll continue to monitor. As of right now, our infection rate is fine. There isn't cause for concern. I was on a call with our medical director earlier today discussing this, and I just want to encourage the children, the students in the community, the families in the community to continue to be responsible. We're so close to the start of the school year. We're so close to achieving something that I think is going to be important for our students, which is welcoming them back to our schools. I encourage you to continue to be responsible, continue to wear masks, continue to distance, continue to make those really responsible decisions that you've made that has positioned us to be where we are today. Now's not the time to relax those. Within the school, we are taking no chances. Within the school, we are requiring masks all day. Whether that's a popular or an unpopular decision, it's not about the popularity, it's about the safety of our students, faculty, and staff, and that's what will guide every decision that we make. We are requiring masks all day. So not to be redundant, but I do need to reiterate the point because I have received a couple of questions about masks and do you really mean all day or is it part of the day? Of course, it's all day. Minus lunch, obviously, minus snack, obviously, minus some of the times where we have scheduled mask breaks. And we'll work through that. The students will know when the mask breaks are. We're sensitive to our students, we're sensitive to our staff, but the masks will be required. The other part of this is if you do have concerns, sometimes you're observing behavior that is concerning, please understand that the school district is not able to enforce something that you observe at someone else's home, or something that you observe in a private shopping center or a public shopping center. That's not the school district's enforcement. That's not our jurisdiction. That's something that we're very limited. If you have a concern, you can contact the Department of Health. You can contact other agencies within the town, but the school district cannot enforce what's happening in a parking lot in a supermarket. So I do want to share that with you. That's something that I believe is obvious and logical and makes sense, but I think it's worth reiterating the point. With some of the other questions that have arisen at this point, the bigger questions reside in the instructional model, registration, confirmation, class rosters. Those are the things that have really come to my attention. The remote learning, if you enrolled in the full-time remote learning program, you should have received an email from my assistant Monday morning. So yesterday morning, you should have received an email confirmation. If you did not receive an email confirmation from my assistant, please send an email. You can send it to your school principal. You can include me on the email so that we may have your child enrolled in the fully remote option. At this point, everyone who is enrolled has been emailed with a confirmation that they are enrolled in the program. With some of the other questions that have arisen, I've shared with you more information about the model, the instructional model that we'll be following with our students on both the remote day and the in-person days. The satellite remote learning center at French Hill, it took several hours, but the program is full. The program, we're excited and optimistic. Last night at the Board of Education meeting, the Board of Education awarded the request for a proposal to 1010 Recreation. It is run by a parent within our school community, within a parent within our district, or within the Yorktown community. We went through a solid vetting process that included interviews with some vendors, a site visit to French Hill with some of the interested respondents to the RFP. And we ultimately accepted and awarded the bid to 1010 Recreation. We were very pleased by their care for children and the sensitivity that they've demonstrated to the needs of our community. There were some questions about the hours. There were some questions about the prices. I'm sure those have not come my way. Those have come my way second or third, through third parties. The pricing is our cost. It's what it costs to have AFC urgent care on site, to have a 7.5 or 10-to-1 ratio. On site, I'm sorry, let me clarify. AFC urgent care on site for the screening at the beginning of the day. They will not be on site all day. So they'll be there for the first hour of the day for the screenings. But we have a 7.5 or 10-to-1 ratio, somewhere between 7.5 and 10-to-1 ratio. We are disinfecting the space. We are allocating some resources for supervision of the space. There are materials that need to go into the space. That is our cost for operating the program. We can't make money on the program, and we can't gift public funds. We can't offer a different fee for the program. That would be an illegal gift of public funds. So the $45 is what it costs us to operate the program, and that is what we in turn are charging for this courtesy. And if the hours don't work within someone's schedule, I understand that we all maintain different work hours. This program may not be the program for you in that instance, and I'm confident that there are other programs within the community that can accommodate the needs in terms of hours. We're limited with regard to what we can do. We're a school offering a satellite remote learning program in recognition and sensitivity to the needs within our community. The third-party provider, once they have taken over the program and their licensing is progressing and they're moving along and their paperwork is submitted, and we're pleased by that and we're encouraged by that, when they take over the program, they will have some more flexibility to modify some of the hours. They will have a little more flexibility to modify some of the programs. They don't face the same restrictions that a public school would face. So they'll have the opportunity to add an hour on the front end, an hour on the back end if they choose, and that's something that would work directly with the provider. They have agreed to maintain the 8 to 4 $45 price, which from what I'm hearing is so far below what any other agency can offer. And that for us, we can't make a profit on this. And that's where the costs are maintained and reduced. For those who are on the waiting list, we did fill up relatively quickly. As spots become available, we're just going to go down the order of the waiting list to invite additional families into the program. We anticipate having a mailing out later this week, just confirming the location. French Hill will be operational September 8th. That can be the first day of drop-off, and we'll work through the fee structure. As a public school district, it's not something that we're accustomed to doing. So we have to work through the collection of fees for this program, and we will do that, and the service will be available, and the program will be operational September 8th. That is, transportation's not being provided to the program, both to and from it. This is a courtesy program that we're offering. It's a temporary program that we're offering. The program is not a before care or after, it's a during the day program. So the district is not transporting to the satellite remote learning in the morning, and we're not transporting home from the satellite remote learning center. So I just wanted to clarify that to make sure. This would be very similar to any other type of daycare that you would send your children to during the day. Also, to clarify, it's not one-on-one tutoring, it's not 5-on-1 tutoring. This is not a program that will be grounded in or driven by instructional support for the child. We will supervise them in a safe atmosphere. We will provide children with assistance in scheduling and maintaining their schedule, and tech support if they require assistance in accessing the technology will certainly help in that regard. But the expectation is that the employees of the center are not providing help on how to add fractions or division or any of the other content that the children are being asked to do. So that is something that I thought was important to clarify for our school community. With some of the other components, and I have some of the other questions that are athletics. I just want to come back to that. I know that athletics are a topic of conversation for so many people. I said this last time, I'll say it again. There was a letter that was put out by a superintendent group stating the position of superintendents on athletics. I just want to make clear, and I made this clear last time, that does not necessarily reflect my position on this. I believe that sports are important for children. I believe that the arts are important for children. Music, the performing arts, the theater arts, fine arts, they're also important for children. And for us to say, well, let's defer them until the spring, or let's defer them until January 1st, can we do this in a safe way? I believe we can. It's going to be important to see what other schools do, because if you have no one else to play, you don't really have an athletics program. But our athletic director, myself, my team supports athletics within our schools. We absolutely do. So I was a little surprised by the content of the letter and the position taken by the letter, but I just wanted to share very publicly what my position was on this. To share a little more information. Technology. I have seen some emails about Chromebooks that are damaged or Chromebooks that need to be replaced. Please reach out to our technology department. They'll work you through the process to replace those. They'll work through any other technology needs that you have. The information is posted to our website, our reopening website. I would encourage you to go there. It is going to be important for children to have their technology in place so that they can start the school year. September 8th and 9th are professional development days for our faculty and staff. There will be no instructional responsibilities for our students, so it's not a remote learning day. You'll recall that September 8th and 9th were the original first days of school for students, but what we did was we took 2 other professional development days from later in the year and moved them forward because we thought our faculty and staff and district ultimately would be best served by repositioning those days for additional staff training for all the reasons that I listed in my August 25th letter to the community. Now, it works out in that November 3rd was a Tuesday. That is a day that students in the A group would be present in school. We move that to September 8th, which is also a Tuesday. So the same group of students who would have come in on the 3rd would have been in on the 8th are now in on November 3rd. So the students who would have been in on September 8th, it's now a PD day. Well, that's the same group of students who would be here on November 3rd because November 3rd is now a student learning day. June 25th is a Friday. That's a day that our B group students would have been in, or a professional development day. So September 9th is a Wednesday. That also is a B day group. So we took a professional development day from June 25th, moved it to September 9th. September 9th now gets moved to June 25th as an instructional day, and it's the same group of students who would have been here, because if you would have been here on a Wednesday, you're also here on a Friday in person. So there was no net loss of instructional time. On September 10th and 11th, that's Thursday and Friday, there will be some connection with the classroom teacher, but there will also be a presentation by me. There'll be a presentation about our buses and where to sit so that students are a little more comfortable when the bus pulls up to their stop and they need to embark. With regard to some of the other things that you can expect, presentations on hand washing and respiratory hygiene and some of the other really important trainings that our reopening plan promised to our students. With the final piece here, there are 2. Contact tracing is one that's now getting a lot of media attention. Contact tracing is essentially the procedure that we're going to go through, and the Department of Health really leads this. The Westchester County Department of Health really leads this with the school district's support. We will notify you if there is a confirmed or clinically diagnosed case of COVID within the school. We will notify you of that. We have been nothing but honest, transparent, and upfront with you. I know rumors can be rumors, and rumors will spread. You will hear it from the school district. We will not tell you the student's name. We're not able to tell you the student's name. We will not provide you the specific details. We're not able to provide you the specific details of who the student is. We will let you know what the implications are in the school and for your child specifically. So I wanted to share that with you because is it possible that we have a case of COVID within our schools at some point during the year? Of course it is. Of course it's possible that there would be a case of COVID within our schools at some point during the course of the year. It's possible that there are multiple cases of COVID within the schools, not just our schools, but any of the schools. We will notify you. We will send a letter home notifying you of the circumstance and of the situation, and if a school closure has to result. Being fluid is something that's very important to us. We're taking every step. I believe our plan is as thoughtful and as intelligent and as logical as any other plan that I've seen. Maybe more logical and maybe more thoughtful, but certainly as thoughtful and logical as any other plan that I have seen. Even with the best plans, it's possible that one student who is asymptomatic comes in and can spread the virus. It's always possible. And I just want to share that with you. And that may result in a closure. And I'm sure there are other concerns that will arise, childcare concerns and the frustration of, okay, we just opened and now we're closing and they're going to reopen again in 2 weeks. Well, what if there's another case that happens in 2 weeks? Then we're going to go through the process again. And that is the reality of this school year. It's not the best news to deliver to our school community. It's not the greatest news for me to share with you. It's something that is our reality this school year, and flexibility and patience and being adaptable to the situation is going to be very important for us this school year. We've been training for this and we are prepared. And the reality is that we will notify you and provide you with the greatest amount of information that we are able to provide. But we too have limitations on what we're able to share. So we will take our cues and follow the lead of the Department of Health. We certainly will work in conjunction with our medical director. But I do want to share the reality. It's very nice to share the news of the reopening. It's wonderful to be able to welcome our students back and tell you all the great things that we have planned and to share with you how terrific it's going to be to see that first bus roll in to our schools. It's not as pleasant to share with you the reality that if we do have a case or 2 or 3 within our schools, that we may be closing again. And that's something that we're going to work with the Department of Health through every step of the way. They're the experts, we defer to them. Our medical director is the expert, I defer to him. Though that's our reality. And while it's not the news that I want to share, it's the reality of our circumstances. So I share that with you. With regard to the final part of what I was going to share with you this evening, the children are a little nervous to come back. I think they're excited to come back. We will be supporting them in person through a lot of the social emotional components. This has not been easy for your children. This has not been easy for any of us, but especially not for the children. They're resilient. Children are resilient. They're just remarkable people. But this has taken a toll on them. If there's something that you're seeing, I would ask you that you reach out to the clinician, reach out to your child's teacher so that we can provide some additional support or so that we can better understand what the concern is. This has not been easy for our children. So you spend more time with them than we do. We'll have them and we'll care for them and we will educate them and we will do it in the safest possible environment from the time that they arrive to the time that they leave us. So at the elementary school level, as I think about Mohansick, the bus rolls in, and Brookside, the bus rolls in at about between 8:45 and 9 a.m. And by 3:20, the buses have departed. From 8:45 to 3:20, we will support them. We will make sure that the masks are worn. We will educate the children, obviously. From 3:20 on, from 4 o'clock on, when your children get home, if there's something that you're seeing that's concerning, please share it with us. But I also ask that you provide the children with the opportunities to continue to socially distance, to continue to make all those really good choices that have been made. And if there's something that you're seeing about your child that you think should be brought to the attention of the school, please do bring it to the attention of the school. We're here to support your children. This transition, there's something about the energy of a school. When the children are back, when the children are going through their classes and learning and with each other and with their teachers, there's wonderful energy. within the school. And I believe once we get through these opening days, a lot of the concern will subside and we'll be back into a routine and things will start to feel a little normal. But I do add a sense of caution to that as well. Just because things are feeling a little normal, it doesn't mean we're to let our guard down. It doesn't mean that, well, we can wear the mask just covering our mouth and not covering our nose, or wear the mask as a chin strap and not cover either our mouth or our nose. We still have to continue to be vigilant. We still have to limit the use of our facilities for outside groups and limit visitors onto our campus. And although, and I'm hoping we get into the winter months without any incident and things are well and things are good, we're still not going to entertain visitors at that point. We're not going to entertain the idea of having visitors into the school. We're not going to entertain the idea of having our facilities used by outside groups. We're going to continue to exercise the same vigilance that has put us in the position to open our schools and keep our schools open. And I would ask that that be the same sentiment within the community. That essentially is the update that I wanted to provide to our school community. I wanted to share with you the fully remote information, the remote component of the hybrid model, the in-person component of the hybrid model. I wanted to share about our start times being what they were. I wanted to share that the bus company is committed, that they're really working hard to get everything operational for our students and safe for our students. But there will be bumps in the road. There will be some stops that the driver maybe doesn't pick a family up at, or that will happen. That happens every year at the first week of school. That will happen. This year will not be any different in that regard. You'll bring them to our attention. We'll address them. They're resolved the following day. So I share that with you as just the reality of the situation, and also the fluidity of the situation with regard to the potential to open, then to close because there's a positive case or two positive cases, and then the reopening, and then the potential of closing again. That all exists. And when I say closing, that means moving to remote learning. It's not a full closure where children are not learning. It's that we're required to move to a remote model for a prescribed amount of time while we get through the active cases within the school district. As of right now, I'm not aware of cases of our students. I know that there are, I believe, 19 in the town of Yorktown, which encompasses both sides of both school districts. So I don't have the specific details on the 19, but I understand that there are 19 cases within our school community, within the Yorktown community, the broader Yorktown community. So that's Lakeland and Yorktown. That essentially concludes my summary. I will schedule another session with our community, another update. However, that will be during the September 10 and 11 reopening. So that's next week after we get through Labor Day weekend and once we've completed our sessions with faculty and staff. The PPE update, we're continuing to install some protective barriers in the district. We're continuing to install the MERV 13 filters into our HVAC systems. We're continuing with the sinks were due to arrive today. I haven't seen sinks yet, but I anticipate they'll be here this week. The temperatures, thermometers have arrived for the temperature checks. So all of the masks, the gloves, all of those things are within the district as well. We continue to work toward our reopening. I will give my next update, as I mentioned, on September 10th and 11th during, it will be school specific at that point. So once we release the schedule for the 10th and the 11th, you'll have the time of my next update. But my next update will not be as detail oriented as these updates have been. My next update is really designed to be watched with your children. And I hope your children will join. I'm going to take them through their schools. It'll be a live filming through the schools. I will welcome our students back. I'll share the expectations with our students, but my next updates on the 10th and the 11th are really intended for our students to be able to talk directly with our students. So I encourage them to participate in the sessions that we have scheduled for them on the 10th and the 11th of September. So with that said, I thank you. I thank you for your support. I thank you for your understanding. Every reopening plan is imperfect. Every reopening plan has areas where you look at and you say, gee, this is great, or gee, I wish there was a way that this could be done better. So I appreciate the support of our community. You have been so wonderful. You have absolutely been so wonderful, and I thank you for that. And we'll continue to be in communication, and I look forward to providing you additional updates as they become available. Thank you for joining this evening. Have a wonderful remainder of the evening.